Hi, welcome to theairwheel.com. Now today what we want to do is take you through the full range of products that AirWheel provide and what we offer you guys. Now what we want to do is specifically look at each different model and distinguish which factors would appeal most to different people so that you can establish which product is going to be best for you. Now before we get started specifically on the series and the different models that we've got in the AirWheel range, there are some general basic things that apply to all of them. So for example, they're all waterproof, they'll all be able to ride in the rain. They've all got slightly different varying power motors, but essentially they'll all be able to go uphill. They'll all be able to obviously go downhill, and actually as you do go downhill you'll find it recharges the gyro, because essentially the way that these are operating, they're single wheel or twin wheel with the Q-Series, but they're self-balancing units. So there's a gyroscope inside, and essentially when you lean forwards, when you put your weight forwards, the unit goes forwards. When you lean back, it slows down and can even go backwards. And to turn, you'll just lean from side to side. That's essentially how the units work, and obviously depending on which model you go for is dependent on the battery capacity and the distance that you'll be able to achieve with those units. But generally speaking, they can all go off-road. Obviously we do offer that with a disclaimer and say it's not going to go flying up over rocks and things like that, but generally speaking on sort of gravel or over grass and things like that, mud or whatever, off tracks and things, they'll be absolutely fine. But obviously as you go up the models to the more powerful motors, you'll find they're a lot easier to tackle those sorts of gradients and those sorts of terrains. So without further ado, we'll go into the specific series and the different models that we've got here for you. First of all, we're going to take a look at the X-Series. Now the X-Series is the models all with a single wheel. So they are slightly more difficult to ride than the two-wheel based models, which you'll find in the Q-Series. But once you've got them, they are super agile, super nimble and super fun to do more tricks and stunts and things on as well. So they do cater for a certain market, that's for sure. So we're going to start off looking at the X3. Now the X3 is our base rate model. It's the cheapest model, and it's also the unit that's the lightest, so it's just under 10 kilos in weight, and it'll also do 4 to 6 miles in distance. Now all the distances we do sort of a varying range ever so slightly to cater for the lower and upper end, because obviously it does depend on certain factors such as the weight of the rider, the speed that you're riding, whether you're going up gradients, off-road, etc, etc. But this is a great unit. The X3 really is. It's a lot of fun, it's very agile, very easy to sort of ride, and it's one that often a lot of people use to start off learning to ride the AirWheels with. We also tend to say that this tends to be the one that relates most specifically to kids, and we kind of mark it in that way for the sort of kids units more than anything. So next we're going to take a look at the X5. I often describe the X5 as the big brother to the X3 really. Essentially, you're looking at a very similar model. It's only ever so slightly larger at the bridge here, but that's to cater for a slightly larger battery capacity, where you're going to be looking at about getting 7 to 9 miles out of this unit. It's again very similar to the X3, similar in weight, it's around about the 10 kilo mark, but it's great fun. It's great for students, great for commuters looking at just about going for those smaller distances. As I said, 7 to 9 miles is what you're looking at for these units, but they're great fun. And if you are in that sort of bracket where you're looking for that sort of distance, maybe sort of 6 miles solidly, or if you're looking at a round trip, you don't really want to be doing more than sort of 3 miles there, 3 miles back, that kind of distance. This is the sort of unit that's going to cater for you guys. So our final model of the X range is the X8. And it really is, it's the premier prestige model of the X series. And it absolutely looks it. It's got the carbon fibre casing that looks really, really plush and professional. And this very much is for the professionals, the serious commuters, the adults that want to look good but also want the distance, because you're looking at getting about 15 miles out of a single battery charge here. Obviously it is slightly heavier, it's 11.5 kilos in weight, but a lot of that is you've got a slightly larger wheel, so it's a 16-inch wheel, and obviously you've got the larger battery and a larger motor in there. Now the benefits of that is that the motor, the acceleration, you're going to feel so much smoother and so much more responsive, and you're also going to tackle any gradient you put it in front of. This really is a serious unit, but it's fantastic. So now we're going to take a look at the Q-Series. Now the main feature that distinguishes the Q-Series is that it's got the twin wheel feature. Now obviously that provides you with a wider base on the floor, which means that you're more stable and more rigid there. So it's easier to learn and easier to ride. You could even find yourself standing still on the unit or going backwards with it. It's a lot easier to pick up than you would find with the X-Series. The downside to that, obviously some people would find the X-Series is a bit more agile and a bit more nimble. That's the only main differences there. So the first model in the Q-Series is the Q1. Now the Q1 is a really fantastic unit. As you can see, compared to the other Q units, it's smaller and it's lighter. It's around about 10 kilos, just over. But you're going to be looking at still getting 9 to 13 miles in distance out of it. So it's still got a very decent battery capacity to benefit from, as well as obviously your twin wheel feature. It's compact, it's small, but it also has all the benefits that you'd get from any Q wheel. This is a really solid wheel, and definitely one that I'd recommend for any commuters or anyone that's looking for something a little bit easier to learn and use, but still wants to gain some decent distance without worrying too much about the weight. So the next unit that we're going to look at in the Q-Series is actually the Q5. Now the reason that we've gone for the Q5 before the Q3 there is mainly over the distance that they can achieve. The Q3 is the top one for distance. So the Q5, you're going to be looking at about 11 to 15 miles in distance on a single battery capacity. And the weight of this unit is still not too bad. It's 11.5 kilos, so it's a little bit heavier than the Q1, but obviously you're looking at getting that greater distance out of it. And also, as with the entire Q-Series, but this one in particular where you've got a slightly more powerful motor, you're going to find the benefits of acceleration, going up steeper gradients and things like that a lot easier. It's a great unit. It looks really cool. When you turn this one on, you've actually got the flashing lights. It's obviously a slightly more colourful unit where you can get it in blue or you can get it in green, and it's just a really fantastic new age cool unit. This would be for those people that are looking for something a little bit different, a little bit of fun, a little bit more colourful as I mentioned, and it's just a really great looking unit for a fun distance and commute. So the final unit in the Q-Series is the Q3. Now this is your absolute commuter's dream really. The distance that this thing can achieve is pretty much almost 30 miles. You're looking at about 24 to 28 miles in distance on a single battery charge. As with all the Q-Series, as we've said before, it's got the twin wheel feature, so it's easier to learn, easier to ride. As ever, you've got your 4 LEDs that are going to show you the battery power and so forth. Now this unit is slightly heavier. That's the downside to the Q3. It's the largest and the heaviest. It's around about 13 kilos in weight. So it does weigh a little bit more, but this sort of unit is going to appeal to adults and also long distance commuters and people that are looking to get some real distance out of their unit. Again, as ever, you've got a more powerful motor in this one as well as you've gone up the specs. So again, it comes to overcoming gradients a lot easier, off-road if you need it for that, and also in terms of acceleration and responsiveness. So a really solid and fantastic unit in the Q3. So why would you buy an AirWheel? Well, there's so many different applications and practical uses of the AirWheel, but over and above that, it's just fun. It makes any commute fun and enjoyable. So whether you're going to school, whether you're a student going to college, whether you're going to work, whether you're just going to walk the dog or airwheel the dog, it doesn't matter what your uses are. Any time that you would normally have commuted, any time that you might have taken the car, but it's only a sort of 5 mile distance, you no longer have to. You know, any time that you would have had to do a 10-minute walk to the bus stop, you can now do it in 2 minutes on the AirWheel. You'll find yourself finding so many different practical uses for these units. We also have them being used in industry as well, in warehouses, in studios. But also, as I said, if it's just a unit that you want to take down the park for some fun, or you want to ride it down the pavements to the gym, for example, there's so many different applications. These really are fun and practical units.